Arnash now?
Who?
You.
Why?
Because they said I changed everything so I don't have to crank it all up. And you're like, what?
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Sorry, I got stuff in my throat.
hopefully, a non-issue. By the way, our video is already running, so. Hi, YouTube. That's Eric coughing for y'all.
Got to clear your throat before you do the podcast.
Oh, hairball. All right, we ready? We have a plethora of things to talk about. Oh, let me make sure we're on vibrate.
Yeah.
Because that would totally suck. Yep, we're good.
That little on air sign then?
Yep, that's on. Okay, here we go. Hey, folks, welcome to this episode of the GalaxyCast. I have with me
3.
people in the studio. I have me, Eric the Artist.
The surprise of Avengers Endgame is going to be John Wick kills Thanos.
I have with me, Gary the Stud.
Excelsior.
And I am Bob Chrisman, your host, the ever-living Bob Chrisman. Okay, so we have several things we want to talk about with you tonight as we review several things. We're going to be looking at the John Wick 3 trailer, which just came out this past week. We're going to talk about Ghostbusters 2020. No, I am not lying. It's a real thing. We just found out about it this week. And we're also going to talk about the Spiderman Far Away From Home trailer. Then we thought we would actually take some time tonight and talk about the talk of the week, which ironically deals with the fan film that we just watched in our last episode and reviewed, and I cannot believe what's going on with that fan film and what's happening with that YouTube channel. So we will talk about that in just a little bit here towards the end of our first segment. Okay, so let's first talk about the John Wick 3 trailer that we just recently watched. What do you guys think? First off, the John Wick series. I mean, what do you guys think of John Wick series as a whole, as a movie franchise? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? So go ahead.
I love the world they built. From the first movie, the world that they hinted at without giving you too much.
Yeah.
The exchange of money through coins. Before there was the Hotel Artemis. Did anyone see that with Jodie Foster and Jeff Goldblum, and it had Batista in it?
No.
It came out after John Wick, and
Okay.
to me it feels like, they're playing off the idea of John Wick. It was basically a hotel that's really a hidden hospital for criminals, and you can go there if you're injured, and you can be protected and stuff. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, John Wick, with the hotel in John Wick, where it was the whole, it was basically a culture of assassins that they didn't give you everything, but they gave you enough.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the gun fu they do, which I just always thought it's incredibly impractical and awesome to watch on screen.
Right.
So I've enjoyed that. Simple story. Keanu Reeves drives it. I love the filming. I love the action. I'm all in on these. They're certainly not like, I can't call them really, really smart films. They're not. It's not like they've taken and done some genius level thing here. It's a fairly straightforward, simple concept.
Yeah.
They just fleshed it out to stylistic integrity tenfold, and it's fun as hell to watch.
What do you think of the John Wick series, Gary?
It's just plain awesome. It's non-stop action all the way from the beginning to the end.
Like, how does this rate with like David Bourne or Jason Bourne? What do you guys think? Like, a lot of people compare the two.
I don't know why they're comparing them.
I mean, because it's a guy who's good at fighting.
Yeah.
I guess.
Right, they're both guys that are like trained to fight. You know what I mean? Like, that's usually the comparison factor. I really see them as two different entities personally, but I just was curious if you guys see them as like-minded ideas or if they're different.
I've always got the feeling that the Jason Bourne are more international intrigue, espionage, adventure films.
I've always said Jason Bourne to me is like if the Matrix met, or part of the Matrix met James Bond, or something along that line.
Well, it's basically James Bond got amnesia in the beginning.
Right, exactly.
Yes. James Bond Light is what I call it.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
So I've really, where the Wick films are really more about putting you into this world. It's a very specific subculture they've invented. And like even just the way they do the lines where I remember in the first one there was this great scene where John Wick's house got invaded and he ended up killing everyone who invaded his house. And then police show up and John Wick's standing there at the door and the guy looks around him at the destruction in his house, leans back in, he goes, "You working again, John?" And he's like, I can't remember what he said. He's like trying not to or something. I can't remember the line, but it's all like, even then I realized the police are in on it. They're a cleanup crew. They're paid in those coins. I just love the world they did, and I was entertained. And it's one of those movies that it gives you the warm feels. You just
Right.
you, as soon as you sit down to watch it, you know what you're going to get. You don't have to worry about some crazy left-handed stupid turn, or it's going to be what it is, and it's entertaining. It's done really well.
Well, what I liked about the first one was the reason why he came back into the into the assassination and all that.
Oh yeah,
is because his dead wife gave him a puppy dog to continue for him to live, basically.
yeah. 'Cause
Right.
he was ready to kill himself. He had nothing to live for.
Right. Then the kid that plays Theon Greyjoy, who at the time everybody despised in Game of Thrones, is playing the guy that kills the dog.
Which made him more hateable
Yes,
at that point.
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
I actually feel bad for the actor who's done both those roles, because, quite honestly, everyone hates him now. Between Game of Thrones and this, it's like, how can he ever like, he could never do a good guy role ever
Right.
again. He'll never be able to.
And just the killing of the dog, and he comes back in.
That's it. He's going to murder
Yeah.
everybody. 'cause he
I
killed
just,
my
yeah,
dog.
I'll agree with you, Gary. That was always my favorite part of John Wick, is that's his reasoning for coming back. Like, you know, and somebody killed my dog. Like, you know, like how much more simpler can you get with a thought process than my dog got killed, I'm going to take revenge, I'm back. You know, like, that's
Then he gets a new dog.
Yeah.
And what's the dog's name?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Dog.
Dog.
All I know is that out of this movie must have a record for number of headshots. It's
yeah.
got to be like the world record of headshots in terms of films.
And from what I understand, it's doubled the kills from the first two movies in this third one.
Oh, really?
And there's 204 kills between the two movies.
The one thing that struck
So
me
he's going
was...
to kill 400 and something people
Yeah.
in this third one?
That'll be awesome. What it struck me was, I don't think I've ever, to the life of me, I can't remember a time where we had a scene where samurai swords were used in conjunction with motorcycles.
Right.
Do you guys?
And again,
I've seen
think
a lot
about it,
of
though.
kung fu movies and other.
This is where the logic of the world falls apart. You're driving up behind the guy,
Right.
shoot him.
Right.
You've taken out the Baba Yaga. You've killed,
Yeah.
the horrible boogeyman, as they call him. But no, they got to drive up with swords
With
and get
swords,
close
right.
and give
Get
him a chance
close,
to
right.
fight. So it's okay. You accept it because
Right.
it's John Wick and it's
John
just
Wick, and
supposed to
that's
be over the
what
top.
you do. Yeah.
I think I can disagree with you, Bob, about the samurai swords and motorcycles.
Okay.
Because I think there's been some kung fu movies back in the 70s, 80s.
I've been trying to think, like, racking my brain.
They're
I've seen
really
some.
they're really B movies.
They did do samurai swords fighting with cars in The Matrix Reloaded. In the whole sequence, the two twins had samurai swords. And
Yeah,
then
they were in the car, you're right,
Yeah, and
yeah.
at the end, he
Were they
takes...
riding cycles though? They were in the cars.
Yeah,
but-
the cycles was other parts of it. And then at the end, Lawrence Fishburne cuts the car as
Right.
it comes driving at him with the
Right,
samurai
right, I
sword,
remember
causing it
that.
to flip. And then he pulls his gun and shoots the tank
Right,
and it
right, right.
explodes. So there's been...
I'm just saying, specifically motorcycles. I was just like, I'd never thought of nor seen
No.
specifically just a motorcycle with a samurai
if,
sword. And I was like,
if I watched enough Hong Kong action flicks,
I'm sure
there's some
somewhere
crazy
along the way
stuff.
there's got to be one. I don't remember one. You know.
Matter of fact, maybe Rumble in the Bronx might have done it too. I'm not sure.
What about Kill Bill? Was there ever? a
Yes,
scene in
there was where the bride was going after
Oh yeah.
another motorcyclist.
That's right. Yeah, and they were
and she cuts her
Okay,
arm
so
off,
so it's not a totally unique thing.
Right.
It's just not something you see very often. I was just kind of like, that's an interesting take.
It is.
But
then he's riding a horse in the trailer, too.
Right, and shooting a pistol, which, like...
Now, I read a theory about this whole thing. I don't believe it, but it's a theory. That it's Neo going into the Matrix is dreaming this whole
I was dreaming up John Wick?
Yeah.
That actually would be kind of funny, though.
Because Morpheus is in it.
True,
Neo's
yeah.
in it.
It'd be interesting. Although, I have a theory about this, because the second movie ended. He was
Right.
given a 1 hour head start. And they clearly make reference to the 1 hour running out of time and everything in this movie. They're showing it, where he's sitting at some... I think he's got something in his neck that's being removed before it explodes, because when his time's cut off, they could kill him, is what I gather, because the doctor's taking it out. He's counting down the seconds.
Right.
I wonder if the first hour of this movie is going to be a real-time 1 hour of him trying to get out of New York City with all the stuff that happens. Because think of how much stuff we see happen in New York. The fight in the library is probably in New York. The fight
Right.
on the motorcycles is in New York. The thing on the horse is probably in New York. I think the first hour is going to almost be real-time him escaping from New York, and at that 1 hour point in that cut, he gets out. And then the second hour is going to be whatever the story is of him going for revenge.
So maybe do like almost like a 24 thing where you're
I
literally
wonder.
following it real time.
I would think that'd be really cool.
That'd be kind of cool.
I think
actually.
it'd be a great first hour.
John Wick in like real time. That would be a
his
really
1
cool
hour
concept.
escape.
Right.
And,
I like it.
And I do like the fact that they bring in some people from Game of Thrones in it too.
Yeah.
Because in this one, the guy that plays Bronn
Yeah.
is in it. Theon Greyjoy was in the first one, and there was another guy. Well, Ian McShane's been in it too. So.
Yeah, he's great.
So
Well, I gotta ask you guys this. So then the reveal near the end of the trailer is that he goes and meets someone. It's played by Halle Berry.
right.
Did that bother you guys at all? Because the first thing I saw after I watched the trailer, and I didn't think twice because I'd already heard she was in it. So I was just like,
Right.
oh, there she is. With all these comments going, oh, you had me till Halle Berry. I'm out. She's gonna ruin the movie. And there was like comment after comment saying that. I'm like, I didn't get that. I don't get that at all.
I'm not a huge Halle Berry fan, and I know I'll take crap for that, and that's okay. I'll buy it.
She was great in Monsters Ball.
There, there's just so many movies she's done where I was just like, it's too far over the top. Like her version of Catwoman was way over the top.
But that was a horrible movie.
Never liked that version of Catwoman.
that was
I didn't like her as a Bond chick, and not because
I never saw that Bond.
And the weird thing is not because before anybody says it has nothing to do with her being African American. It's not that at all. She didn't make a good Bond chick. She just didn't. I don't know. She didn't make it viable.
Did
for me.
Denise Richards playing a scientist?
No, she didn't work for me either. And I'm that's what I'm saying. Like, not all the Bond chicks made it for me.
They don't all
Bond
work.
chicks.
They don't all work.
And I'm just saying she just never worked out. And there's not many movies where I've seen her and been like, oh yeah, she did she got a great role in that one. A lot of times I think she gets cruddy roles and makes something of them. What's the one she did with Travolta? Swordfish.
Yeah.
It was okay. I think she made something of that role, and honestly, that role was nothing. With what I mean. So I don't know. I think she's a good actress. I just think for whatever reason she keeps getting handed kind of slappy roles.
The movie I really liked her in was the 911 operator movie that she was in.
Oh, that wasn't too long ago, was it?
Right.
I can't remember what that was.
I don't think I've seen that one.
I can't think of what it was, but a girl gets abducted and finds a cell phone and calls 911, and she's the operator trying to get her to safety.
Did any of you guys see Gothica, the one where she was put into a mental institution?
I saw it and I did not like it.
Didn't like it.
I haven't seen it.
And I don't think it was because of her acting. It's just
like I said, she got handed a bad role. It's like
right. Even Catwoman is.
It was a bad write of Catwoman, and
Right.
therefore she's trying to pull something out of nothing. And that's where I kind of feel bad for her because I do think a lot of times her problem is not her. It's the people working around her, and she's getting kind of cruddy position. She's put in a bad position.
And I liked her in Roots too.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
But that's way back.
Oh yeah.
So it didn't. The idea of her being in it though didn't ruin it for me. I don't think she's going to destroy John Wick. I think she's going to be fine.
I'm looking forward to see what her role is.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, and actually, if the two of them work together well, it might be a good, marriage, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The person I wanted to see come back is Ruby Rose from the second one.
What part did she play? Was she the?
She was the silent hitman for the Spaniards.
Did she survive?
She got stabbed in the heart, and he told her don't pull it out.
No, that was not her.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
That was Common.
Okay, so
And from what I've heard, Common's not in number 3.
right, but I think she survived it.
I can't remember what happened to her.
Yeah, I don't think she died in it.
She was because it was him and Common fighting on the subway,
right?
And he stabbed him and put him down and said, "Leave it. It's keeping you alive." And that's the last we see of that character. That was a great moment too, where the two of them run into each other at the concert, and they're both here doing jobs or whatever. The one's doing security, and he's here to do a job, and they pull the gun. That was a great moment too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was hoping to see more of his character. And from what I hear, he's not in it.
And I'd like to see Ruby Rose back in it too. So she was a tattooed.
I remember who you're talking about now.
Okay, let's move on to our second topic, which is the release this week of. Well, it started as a tweet, right? First, from which Reitman is it? The Sun.
The Sun.
Jason
Reitman.
Jason Reitman.
He talked about. He came out in a little article too. He did more than just tweet because he did there was a little article release where he talked about growing up on the set of Ghostbusters 1.
Oh, yeah.
So he remembers there being there as a kid. He's always appreciated it. He always thought it'd be fun someday that he would take the mantle on and do a new movie or whatever. And he released, all of a sudden, we learn he's been writing this for the past year and a half. The script is done. They're into production, apparently. And, oh, hey, look, there's even a teaser.
Right. And even somebody like Ernie Hudson had retweeted that, by the way, here's our teaser. And the rumor is the original cast is returning. Dan Aykroyd's returning. Ernie Hudson's returning.
Obviously, Bill Murray's always the iffy.
Yeah, but apparently Bill Murray actually recently had jumped back into the fray. I had heard that there were a lot of negotiations going on.
He jumps in and jumps out, though. He's hard. He's hard to pin down.
But so you watch the trailer, and you guys are all like, "Oh, there's a teaser trailer." So I was kind of like, "Okay, cool." I'm kind of looking forward.
I didn't say there's a teaser trailer. I said there's a teaser.
There's a teaser. You're right. You didn't say teaser trailer. So I'll give you that. So I got kind of excited. I'm like, "Oh, this will be really cool to watch." And then I kind of watched it, and I hate to be like tears, but it was like, there ain't much there. I mean, being honest with you, for those who are watching right now,
they instantly play that iconic theremin music from the library of the first Ghostbusters. Yeah. That alone made me catch my breath.
Just going the
I was like,
in the background. I'm like, that's enough for me. And then seeing the logo on the car,
and it's the original Ecto-1.
It's the original Ecto-1, and it just says summer 2020, and that's it. That's all there is to it.
The only thing that would make it better for me would be if the siren from the Ecto-1 went off.
Yeah, either that or like, this is gonna sound dumb, but like if a marshmallow fell out of the sky or something and fell on top of it or something
apparently,
stupid like that.
If you scroll back in the video, the part where they're panning in, people have been like tearing this thing apart.
The video.
Yeah, they apparently, if you go back till you had to keep going until they're all outside the house and way out in the field. They pass a fence right there, and apparently you can see ectoplasm on the fence if you look. But I keep looking. I just think it's the lighting. Apparently over on the side here, it's kind of.
Well, I think that's just green lighting, though.
But apparently it's
drippy.
Ghostbusters
fans.
Right there. I did see it wiggle. I think they're right. You see it right there at the top. It's dripping. So there's
at
ectoplasm.
The top of the fence?
Yeah, right on that second. This one right there. Watch. It wiggles.
Oh yeah.
So there is ectoplasm all over that fence. People caught that. So there are little things hidden in this that you've got to really look for. Apparently, the license plate on this one is the license plate all the way back to the original Ghostbusters and not Ghostbusters 2.
Right.
So it's this old license plate from the 80s.
Yeah.
The old yellow.
Oh yeah.
Not the
very
redone
throwback yellow.
Not the Statue of Liberty.
Yep.
These are not throwaway things. These are done in every little element.
I'm sure every detail has been thought through.
So I think this is his way of saying, this is a true connection here. We're thinking very much about how the first one felt and trying to capture that again.
What do you guys think of this idea of going back to Ghostbusters in 2020? Is it a win or is it a loss here?
It's a win for me. I'm there.
Yeah.
I always loved Ghostbusters 1. I was disappointed in the trailer, but it came out in the summer of '89. If you think about that, Ghostbusters 2 came out in 1989.
Oh my gosh!
Because it came out the summer of Batman and Indiana Jones. Which was what was really funny because
I remember that summer. That's really sad.
In 2008, we got a new Indiana Jones and a new Batman. And a new Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
No, not new, but we got a couple of them. It was the summer of Iron Man.
Yep.
But we also got Indiana Jones and we got a Batman again. So it was like they had waited so long and then their sequels came out.
Right.
But I've always thought that original Ghostbusters universe and mythos has so much to mine still. There's so much potential.
I agree with you.
And so I'm excited to see what they do.
Gary, what do you think of this idea of relaunching Ghostbusters in 2020?
Well, it's not really a relaunch. It's a sequel.
Well, it's a sequel, too.
Yeah. He's made a point of saying it's not a reboot.
Right.
I think so. When they made the one with the girls in it a couple years ago or so.
Yeah.
That was 2016.
They had a lot of potential, or not a lot of fans excited about it. Then when it came out, it was like, ugh.
It wasn't a funny. I watched it. It wasn't a funny movie. It has nothing to do with being an all-girl team. I'm fine with an all-girl team. I'm fine with all that. It wasn't a funny movie.
I actually think they tried too hard at the comedy side of it. Like, I thought they did well on the Spectre ghost side of things, but on the comedy side, they were trying too hard to throw the comedy in, and it just didn't fit. And that was the one thing I always loved about Ghostbusters is the comedy was always natural. It felt like it was just a part of whatever was going on. Like when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man shows up and everybody looks at Bill Murray and he's like, "What? I couldn't help but think of the one guy that would never hurt me while I was." There's Dan Aykroyd. Thank you. Would never hurt me while I was at camp. Camp Ahami, which ironically was the one that I was servicing. And yes, it's a reference to the camp down in... It's an actual camp, by the way. And I thought that... I don't know. There's organic comedy inside of Ghostbusters. As real as the movie, as real as it feels, and the realism they try to put into it with the special effects and everything. There's also organic comedy.
Well, that was why I think the original Ghostbusters worked well. It was a horror comedy.
Right.
There were moments where the scariness of it, you
Was
got
scary,
you got
yeah.
nervous. You
Yeah.
sat there and you were waiting for something to jump out and scare you. They didn't forget that there was supposed to be fear.
I'll
in
never
it.
forget as a kid when the librarian went.
Yeah, that scared you.
The crud out of
just
you.
walking through there and
Yeah.
things moving and
Yeah.
the scene with
books being
Sigourney
thrown.
Weaver being attacked or the
Yeah.
things that happened in her fridge. There were moments of true fear. They made it a horror comedy.
Right.
Then Ghostbusters 2 was an out-and-out comedy. They kind of lost
Right.
the horror. And they didn't do any horror in the girls' version. It was an out-and-out attempt at an art comedy. I'm
Right.
hoping this one is a horror comedy again, because it's what makes the jokes work more, is when you have that tension and that fear, and all of a sudden the humor hits, and it's such a relief in you, it's extra funny. It's like it works. So I hope they haven't forgotten that. Have you ever seen Mr. Plinkett on YouTube do his
No.
reviews? He reviewed, it's a guy doing a character.
Okay.
And he reviews tons of movies. He got famous for kind of tearing apart the Star Wars prequels in these
Okay.
big, long, 2-hour reviews each. But he's smart at what he's doing. He picks out very real things in a humorous character way.
Right.
But the stuff he makes fun of, you go, oh, I get it, But he reviewed he's done a bunch of other movies too. He did the Ghostbusters sequel with the girls.
Yeah.
And I highly suggest watching it if you're not annoyed or put off by the character he does
Right.
in the review. He calls out some really, really very clear moments where they ruined the comedy elements, where they
Right.
overdid it, where they did a joke. There's a joke at the beginning where they talk about how they were called by someone.
Right.
Mr. Johnson called us. That can't be. Mr. Johnson died 10 years ago. And then the guy walks up, the Ed Begley Jr. character, and they're like, well, this is him. Oh, that's Mr. Johnson Jr. Oh, and that's the joke. As a joke, it kind of works. But then they kind of harp on it. The girls kind of rattle off a bit more, and
Right.
it drifts on too long, and they kind of improvise or whatever. And he points that out, how it's like you had a good joke. You had the moment, and you overdid it and ruined
Right.
it. And
Drop it. You got it. Now drop
and
it.
he catches a ton that they do in that movie,
Right.
where they just overdo the joke or don't hit the timing right. So I think that was a matter of it just not being funny.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think this will be... I'm kind of looking forward to it. 2020, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot of other noise coming out in 2020.
Well, what's 2020 that's going to compete with? We got no Star Wars.
But there is there's supposed to be the first Marvel
Phase
Phase
4?
4, right?
Okay.
Movie coming out.
Do we even know what it's going to
We
be?
have no idea what it's
Right.
going to be. A lot of rumors are it's potentially either in another Guardians of the Galaxy, potentially, but that I think got put in the back burner.
Yeah.
Rumor is it could be the Captain Britain Black Knight film that they've been hinting at.
It could be a
Could
Fantastic
be
Four or
Fantastic
something.
Four or something else that we don't even know that they're going to reveal in the next
Yeah.
movie.
X-Men.
2020,
that too.
yeah, maybe X-Men. 2020 is also supposed to be the start of some of the strings of Disney's movies like Aladdin and
Oh, yeah.
Lion King.
Also,
and all
are we
those.
getting the first new Avatar?
I think Avatar
in 2020?
is getting re-released in
So that could be a
2020.
busy
So
summer.
there could be like a busy summer to try to put Ghostbusters into that. But I'm also sitting there thinking none of that stuff plays to our generation. Ghostbusters would totally play to the 30-40 crowd. And that's where I can totally see it.
40, 50 more.
Yeah.
Ouch, man,
I mean, I was a kid when I saw it, and
You're right, 40,
when that comes
50.
out, I'll be 49.
Wow.
Right.
And I was like 12 or 13 when I saw it, whatever,
Yeah.
So
I don't wanna
maybe
talk
a little
about it.
older, maybe a little older than that. But
Do you think that the cast is too old at this point? Is Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd and
It depends on how
Bill
they put
Murray,
him in.
I mean,
I
are
mean,
they past their prime at this point? I mean,
Bill Murray's still, I've seen him in stuff, and he's still entertaining as hell.
I'll give you that.
Dan Aykroyd is hit or miss, but I think given the right material, he'd be good. How's Ernie Hudson looking? You've seen him more recently than I have. At
He's looking
conventions.
good.
He's okay.
Yeah.
he's-
So I think he could pull off.
I think he's
fine.
held up over time. You know what I mean? Like he's not looking bad. I just that's my only concern. Like they don't need to make these guys look young and hip. Just let them be their age and let them. Maybe that's part of the humor is they're older now trying to do
that's
it. You know
I'm
what I mean?
sure.
Like to me that would be funny actually.
The one thing I want is Ernie Hudson to say, "I'm getting too old for this."
Yeah, actually, that would be kind of funny. That would be totally funny. Like, I would buy into it, too, and be like, yeah, that's funny. Okay, So the next topic we wanted to talk about, this one was also kind of a shocker. There was no warning about this.
There was a little bit. About a day or two before, Tom Holland started tweeting about, hey, you guys want to see something? Or, hey, I might want to show you something. I might have something to show you. He started doing these little hints and tweets about trying to get something out to people. He was leading up to it on his Twitter.
Right. So the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, that's what we're talking about, for those who are like, what are they talking about? So we got a chance to see a teaser trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. And it's an interesting trailer. I will give them, they're giving us the story, but not too much of it, which I appreciate when they do that with trailers, because I hate it when they ruin it and give us everything, and I don't want everything. I just want part of it. Give me just enough so I know what you're trying to do. And it's pretty obvious by the trailer that Spider-Man obviously is going to go overseas, thus the Far From Home part. I thought it was interesting at the beginning. Happy is trying to be all suave with his mother there, and
did you know those 10-year challenges?
Aunt May, thank you.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Did you see the Aunt May one?
No.
It's the Aunt May from the old Tobey Maguire movies, and then it's her, and it's like that's her 10 years later.
Somebody did it right.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei's pretty got it going on.
Yeah. Even at her age now, I mean, come on, she's got it going on. So, the interesting thing that we caught online is some, like, spoilery kind of things that maybe there's a warning. In the background in one of the scenes, Spider-Man is flying by, and it sure looks to me like the Avengers Tower is getting a makeover.
Yeah, there's construction back there. It's the part where he's swinging past Grand Central Station.
Right. And there definitely is an implication something's going on there. Now, people online have speculated maybe it's possible that the Avengers Tower is being transformed, and we've talked about this, into possibly the Baxter Building. Yeah, so the A gets a 4, and suddenly the Fantastic Four are able to join into the MCU.
That would be awesome. Two things here about the scene we're on right now. Yeah. One, it's where he's getting his passport. Pause it right there. We can actually see the passport. So it's funny because, did you catch the line he does where he leans in, he goes, I'm Peter Parker here to pick up my passport. He does all these P's like really rapid. Yeah. And then, pick up my passport, please. Yeah. Then, if you look at the passport, there's no years.
Yeah. Oh, no,
they've taken all the year dates off of it because people are saying, well, does this take place before or after Avengers?
Oh, yeah. Is this before?
Is he alive? Are we finding out that him and Fury, in the trailer, are we finding out that him and Fury are fine already? Which people are suspecting is going to happen. But are we finding it out for sure, or are we not? When does this take place? You know.
And I had heard that I guess those questions had come across to Disney already several times. And both Disney and Sony have said they will not answer that question. They will not answer any questions dealing with the second Avengers movie until after the second Avengers movie comes out.
Yeah.
And they're even like, they're not even releasing the timeline order of anything, including Captain Marvel, till after the
we know Captain Marvel takes place in the 80s.
We know it takes place in the 80s, but here's the interesting thing.
The 80s or 90s?
80s, I think.
It's supposed to be 80s, but it could be pigeonholed in a couple different places within the Marvel timeline. Even though it's in the 80s, there's a couple, like, technically Thor could fit into a spot in there somewhere.
Right.
Obviously, Captain America has to come before that, but there's like a weird, like, there is like a 2 or 3 movie spread where the 80s could fit in. So it is kind of a question of, like, where in amongst all that does Captain Marvel fit in? What I found interesting about this whole thing is obviously Fury's still working as either an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or
Sword.
Well, Sword potentially, or a director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they've implied in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that S.H.I.E.L.D. got broken up. But I'm wondering if it got broken up so that
it's the secret.
Well, that's what I'm saying. that Fury could take control again and reform it, ultra behind government, behind closed doors without governments.
And the reason we're talking about that is because if you've seen the trailer, there's a scene where Peter and his buddy come home into their room in Europe, and there's Fury tranquilizes the guy and says to Peter, "You got to come with me."
Right. And it was interesting too. What I find interesting here is obviously Spider-Man gets some new suits here. I mean that's pretty obvious, and it's pretty obvious since he didn't bring his suit from New York City that he's getting the suits from Fury. So they've got to be like Agent Shield versions of the Spider-Man suit. Now, this is the darker Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the old Alex Ross design. He did it for the original Spider-Mans that they never used.
Right, and I like the Alex Ross design, and I like what I see here. Now, I've told you guys I'm not a huge Spider-Wing fan, right?
Right.
I'm okay with this. I'm actually okay with this. It doesn't look forced. It looks like it's, you know what I mean?
He doesn't look like a flying squirrel.
Right, exactly. That's my point. You know, and I like the simple chest design. It's not overdone. It's just a very simplistic, Black Spider look there. And so to me, I like this. It's a good throwback. It's a really cool throwback.
A lot of explosions and destruction, and then the weird part: elemental creatures storming through Europe.
Right.
London.
So we London for
Venice,
sure.
Venice probably.
And Venice.
It looks like Venice too. Yep. It looks like a creature that's made out of water, one made out of rock.
But then we get that.
Yeah, and then we see this black Spider-Man with it looks like tactical gear basically.
Yeah, but
right?
he lowers can you zoom back and catch that moment he's dropping the goggles? Do we see what's under those goggles?
Well, let's take a look.
No, see,
we really don't, huh?
You can't tell unless you can get that pause just right. So I don't know if we're seeing his eyes. I don't even know if that's Peter.
Yeah, that's the question.
Could it be somebody else? Okay, you do. Yeah, you get to see the eyes.
The eyes are there,
but I can't tell.
But you can't tell if that's Peter Parker or not.
I'm assuming, but you never know.
Wouldn't that be cool if it's like Happy?
I don't think that's Happy.
No, I know it'd have to be much bigger, but still, I think it'd be kind of funny.
Agent Spider.
Agent Spider. It might be. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, like an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a Spider-Man suit.
Then the big reveal, and this costume. I am surprised at how far they went with this costume. You get the full-on cape, big metal breastplate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... And then when he takes... We're talking about Mysterio, by the way. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio, which, by the way, I when they first announced him, I went... And now looking at him in the movie, I like it. I like what they did here. And I'll give you... I like the big armored look of Mysterio.
Yeah.
It's a really cool
He's even got
look.
the square gauntlets.
Yeah.
I mean, for a Marvel movie, that's a full-on superhero outfit showing up, which plays into our theory here that he's causing illusions to make himself look like a hero, because who else would dress in such a hero-like costume unless someone wanted to be a hero?
Right. And where our speculation is that he's making up these elemental creatures to people to fight them off to look like a hero. I just love the fact that we finally see Mysterio with the helmet on, too. Helmet. Like the full-on helmet, the whole 9 yards. And wouldn't that be a cool thing? He's actually, kind of juking people into thinking he's a hero when in reality he's the bad guy.
No, that's what everyone assumes.
What
if they play the twist and he's a good guy for now? And something bad does happen later to change him?
Or, all these people are making that speculation. I've heard that online. A couple of my friends at school said, when you watch it, I got a theory. Here's my thought. Watch it. Let me know. But here's my thing. They were like, well, let's say it's Hydro Man for a minute. Bad guys don't fight each other. And I laughed. I said, do you read Marvel comics? like seriously, I'm like...
They never get along.
Right. It's like, it's not that big of a stretch for two bad guys to fight each other. Spider-Man shows up and they both go, well, screw it. We're not going to fight each other. We're going to fight Spider-Man for now, but I hate you, So it's not that far-fetched for bad guys to be fighting each other. So part of me says maybe it's the old throwback Marvel thing where two bad guys are fighting till the good guy shows up and then he becomes the new bad guy, so it'll be interesting to see.
Gary, you did talk about the introduction of the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
If that's Hydro Man, if that's
Mysterio.
It is Mysterio.
Right.
And we've already seen the Vulture. We've already seen Shocker.
Correct.
We're 4 out of 6.
That's why I said that. When you talked about the Sinister Six a long while ago, and then I said, well, if Hydro Man's there and Mysterio, it's not that far of a stretch for us to get the rest of the Sinister Six and make it a thing, right?
Didn't we see Scorpion too in the prison?
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
at the end of the last movie, you're right. Yeah. So there's 5 of the 6.
Yep.
So who's the only one we're missing?
Craven.
Okay, that's right, Craven.
So and that's the guy I've been waiting for.
But then you wonder, why would Hydro Man be real, but the lava guy not be real?
Well, I was just thinking of that. Maybe he was making these illusions, and Hydro Man
is real and is not an illusion.
And he went to fight Hydro Man, his elemental that he made, but Hydro Man already destroyed it.
Right.
Because we don't know who he's talking to when he says, you don't want a part of this. He could be talking to Hydra Man.
Because
then he goes off and fights him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It could be a part of it.
There's a lot that could be going on here.
And they could potentially introduce Kraven at the end of this one.
Yeah.
So you got Scorpion and Kraven out there. Like, we know they're there, but they're not there. And then there's your Sinister Six movie. Scorpion, Kraven show up, and now you've got your Sinister Six.
Although no one is really the Shocker, because didn't both people who dress as the Shocker both get killed? I know the first one did. The second one did too, didn't he?
I think so, yeah. I mean, even if he didn't, but anybody who picks up the gauntlets could become the Shocker. You know what I mean? They could easily replace that character.
And how about when they do the Sinister Six movie and they get Michael Keaton back, they shave his head.
Totally.
They give him the look.
I think they have to. Don't you think they have to the next time Vulture shows up?
I think so, yeah.
We gotta totally do it. So it'll be interesting to see. This is the first time where I'm kind of like, okay, between the Spider-Man movie that's currently in the movies, which I still haven't seen, and I really want to go see it.
You haven't seen it either, have you? I'm the only one who's seen it.
I know, and this, and I'm kind of like, I'm actually for the first time in my life saying, all right, I'm actually respecting Spider-Man, which honestly, I'm kind of like Gary. I'm in that boat of like, I never really was like huge jump into the Spider-Man realm. You know, I'm not totally Gary. We're like hate Spider-Man, but I'm like, I'm not like, I don't know. I've never bought into Spider-Man as a great character. I don't know. I always saw him as the whiny teenager-y kid, and I know that's what he's supposed to be, but I just thought it was too over the top. You know, when I was a kid. But now I'm kind of like, these versions have got me going, okay, I can go with this. I can live with this version.
One thing I do like too is that these movies are sticking to their guns in terms of things they do, even as throwaway bits. The very first Iron Man movie, the last line of the movie is him going, I am Iron Man.
Right.
So I'm like, he gave away his secret. They never ignored that. Everyone knows Tony Stark is that for the rest of the movies. And I thought that'd be like this huge thing to overcome. It's not. It was so easy, and it just worked into the universe.
Right.
Aunt May discovered Spider-Man was Spider-Man at the end of Homecoming. There she is working with him at a charity fundraising event. Happy's in the suit, high five. I'm like, they stick to their guns when they do these things,
even
and they
suggesting
advance
he
the
should
story.
take the suit with him when he goes overseas, which I thought was funny. So that's it's gonna be an interesting movie. I think it's gonna be interesting to go see. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting topic for us to talk about because it kind of puts us in a weird place. Well, last episode on this show, we reviewed and talked about a Star Wars Vader fan film. And you remember what the title was officially of it?
It was a Star Wars theory film. It was Vader.
Hang on,
I can't think of it.
We'll edit this.
Shards of the Past.
Yeah. Shards of the Past. Okay, so we talked about Shards of the Past, and it was just a spectacularly well done Darth Vader fan film. And we were actually impressed. We were very surprised. I'd even talked about maybe I tried to get a hold of the producer. I feel bad for the guy now. And ever since we watched it last week, I swear we are the people that did this. Almost, what was it, about 2 days later, right, Gary? I think you sent this to us Sunday or Monday, and we watched on Friday, something like that. A video came out that apparently Disney got a hold of the guy, and did they threaten to shut it down first, or they just decided to monetize it outright?
What they did was they filed claim against it.
Right,
the company Warner Chappell filed a claim on YouTube against the fan film. The fan film was originally up with no ads.
Right.
Because the guy had made agreements with Lucasfilm and talked to them. He'd asked, can I crowdfund this? Can I monetize it? Lucasfilm said, no. He even said, and we found this out in a second video, apparently, he had said to Lucasfilm, well, can I monetize it and have the money go to you guys?
Can you take the profit out of it?
They said no, just no monetizing whatsoever. So he didn't. He released it, thinking he'd done all the things that he was supposed to do and was told to do, and put all this time in development of this movie, made this great fan film, and within 2 weeks, Warner Chappell comes along, someone from the company, slaps a claim against it because of the use of some of the music, throws adds to it, and starts monetizing it so the money can go to them.
Right. But the thing is he had hired a composer, and the composer didn't take any real music from Star Wars, but it was still close enough to it that they said...
Yeah, he played off one of the motifs.
Right.
Very closely.
Well, first off, before we get into the music, which I've got my own viewpoints on that, and we'll get into that in a minute, just the idea that Disney potentially had somebody in their company... Well, the claim's one thing, which I get the claim. I actually understand the claim. But then to do the manual claim and then decide to put commercials in front of it, and monetize it.
Right, but that wasn't Disney's doing, though.
Well, then who monetized it?
Warner
Chapel, whatever
Yeah.
company.
But
Time
Warner Chapel's an extension of...
No, it's not.
No, that's what he explained in the second episode, was that they are an extension of Disney.
I read elsewise online. They're a division of Warner Brothers.
Which Disney bought out.
Warner Brothers got bought out by Disney.
Parts of Warner
Because that's what he said. What he was describing was that they bought the rights to like an entire music and composer catalog.
Right, from Universal.
No, from Warner Brothers. From that company.
Warner Chapel had bought the rights from Universal. And Universal has rights to John Williams' music.
I think it's the other way around. But irrelevant. My understanding of this is that the issue with the music is actually through Disney. That the problem actually is with Disney itself.
Well, just look up
with LFL.
Just look up Warner Chapel.
Okay, I'll look them up. Actually, let's do it this way. It's Warner Chapel. Let's hear Warner Music Group. Well, that doesn't tell us a dang thing, does it?
Well, here's the last part. In 2017, Warner Chapel filed a lawsuit against EMI Music Publishing, accusing the latter company of underpaying Warner Music for royalties of the 20th Century Fox catalog. 20th Century Fox, there's your Star Wars releases. So this is a very bounce-around thing that's going on.
Which Warner acquired in 82.
Yeah. And they are a part of Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And
wow, that's weird. So the music of Star Wars belongs to Warner Brothers?
They have rights to it.
They have rights to it. Did you see how this is all so confusing? I feel so bad for people who have to deal with this crazy nonsense. And this poor guy is having to deal with this crazy nonsense. So basically, somebody did a manual claim, which... what's, Eric, maybe you know this. What's the difference between a claim and a manual claim?
A claim can be just that the automated systems in YouTube can detect.
Flag it, like they've done in some of our videos.
If I find a song that I want to put Adele on with my video or whatever, they're going to instantly catch that with their automated AI that Adele's music is playing, and they're going to say, you cannot monetize this video, blah, 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 because this is copyright owned by this.
Right.
A manual claim means that a person went in and did it manually. They discovered the video, they had issue with it, and they put
so even if it's not Disney, then somebody at Chapel or Warner Chapel listened enough to go and make the claim and be able. So anyway, here's the thing, and this is what Gary was trying to get at. They claim that part of the Imperial March is heard in this particular movie. Now, when he went back to clarify with YouTube, my understanding is the claim is that although it's not the Imperial March, in other words, it's not the exact duplicate of the theme that John Williams put in, but that it was close enough to call it the Imperial March, and therefore they own claims to the Imperial March. I take issue with this. As a musician, I have a big problem with this, because that means that any theme with any sort of implications of another theme could be claimed by somebody else. And if you start walking down this slippery path, then all of a sudden everything in music is owned by somebody already down the road. You know, it's interesting, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but recently an artist had said, is it possible we have now fulfilled everythime we can fulfill in music, and all we're doing now is rehashing what has been rehashed already?
Right.
Which is a valid point. When you go from, box time till now, a lot of the themes keep reappearing, or the styles keep reappearing, or whatever you want to call it, and we just kind of keep rehashing them. And that's okay if you understand that in the music industry, and that's part of how the music industry works, so that's fine. But if we start fighting over who owns that, when does art just become art? You know what I mean? Like, part of me just sits here and says, why is it not okay to be inspired by somebody else and come up with a like-minded theme, but not the theme, and use that as your inspiration for your theme. And when we start walking down that slippery path, well, I mean, even classical composers did that. I mean, Haydn wrote an entire symphony based on a Mozart sonata that he was inspired by, and even took parts of the theme and wrote it into his symphony.
Yeah.
Could Haydn have been sued by Mozart back in the 1800s? That would never
if they had those lawyers.
Right, do you get what I'm saying? Like, that would never have been thought of in that day.
Well, okay,
Yet
so
here
you're going
we
to be
are,
doing
and we're saying that's you know what I mean?
So if you're going to bring up Haydn and Mozart, for the other side of our less classy listening audience, I'm going to bring up Weird Al.
No, you're right.
Weird Al does parodies, which he gets permission for.
Yep.
He also does, they're called, I think, pastiche
Yes.
pieces, where they are clearly a theme played on a very specific musical style.
Right.
Dare to Be Stupid is clearly Devo.
Right.
Charles Nelson Riley's CNR from one of his newest album is very clearly the White Stripes, Jack White.
Yep.
He did one called Everything You Know Is Wrong, which is a parody of They Might Be Giants.
Right.
He does these, and if you know the musical styles, you know what he's doing.
Right.
But he doesn't have to get permission to make those songs because he's playing on
A style. Right.
that people recognize. Would this lead to then now he can't do those anymore without getting permission from people to say, hey, I want to write something that kind of sounds like what you do? It's not going to be a duplicate of anything you've ever done. It's going to be thematically similar and have similar tones, and people are going to recognize that I'm playing a riff off that, but now I got to get your permission to do that too.
I'm going to go one step further, too. Can they retroactively... I mean, like, you know the law. Once it's law, right? Can you retroactively... Okay, so in the law, once something happens, you could retroactively enact that law, correct?
Yep.
Disco Star Wars was never okayed by LFL, ever. Not once, not never. But they never fought it. You get what I'm saying? Like, they could have gone out and been like, you can't do that.
Well,
but they embraced it back in the 70s.
They
because it helped bring people to the theater, right? Like, I mean, come on.
Could they? Yes. Does any company or entity exist they could go after now? That it may not. There may be nothing around to go after.
Right, but you get what I'm saying,
I get
right?
what
Like,
you're saying.
Well,
that was kind of the guy's
like
point.
This weird slippery slope that once you start going down it, I don't know where the end is.
That's why that was the guy's point. He said, well, why is my video being gone after, but all the fan reaction videos that watch the entire video, that you hear the music in their fan reaction videos, are not being flagged by the company? Where's that line? Why are they stopping at me? Why did they just come after me, the one who did all the work? You know, it's he makes some interesting points.
I can only help but wonder if the reason they're going after him, and this is going to sound awful, is because they want to stop the second episode from happening. And maybe it's because of our theory of who the person's got to be that's in there. Because maybe Disney doesn't want somebody playing in the garden of, hey, Mace Windu might still be alive, because maybe they've got plans for that somewhere.
Right. And then guess who's right?
Well, yeah, and then Gary's right the whole time. So Dave Filoni was there all along. I don't know. There's a lot going on
I
here.
think that's a bit of a stretch simply because it doesn't matter if they cover characters that are in the thing or not. People are going to be like, oh, that was just a fan film anyway. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yes and no.
For some random person in Warner Chapel to be like, hey, they might be talking about Mace Windu. I'm going to flag this under a music. It sounds like it's a very conspiracy theory approach.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying it is something that could be happening ultimately, but
if that was the case, I think Disney could have just come straight up and been like, shut this video down. It's way too much in our sandbox.
Yeah.
You were given permission originally, but you can't. But that's the other thing is right now there is no law against a fan film that doesn't make money.
Right.
As long as it's not a profiting source.
Right.
You can make something that is an homage.
And that's where I take issue with that. If fan films are allowed to make money, which they're not, and I get that, then why is Disney allowed to make money off the fan film that somebody created? Right. Or anybody else for that matter? I don't care who you are. Why do you get the right to make money off of something that somebody else made but didn't get the right to make money off of? And then, that's the disgusting part of it.
Then we get to the second video he posted, which was like a day or so later.
Right.
And he got a response from Warner Chapel about... And basically it was an enormous threat to him.
Yeah.
Saying, don't fight the claim, don't file an appeal, you'll lose it, and we'll shut your channel down, and we'll cancel the video. And this is his livelihood, is his YouTube, you know. It's how he's making a living. and they're threatening him to shut everything down if you try to file a claim against us. It almost sounds like someone else in a company that's not Disney related went, hey, we can funnel a lot of money to us off this video because of a rights thing we have. And it may not be Disney. It may be a smaller group in Warner Chappell that says, you realize we just crunched the numbers. We can make, in the next month, $500,000 off this video, and we own the rights to that music. So let's do it. Let's file a claim and get that money. So it almost sounds to me like it's not coming from the higher-ups and from Disney and from fandom of fans can't touch our properties and this and that. It almost sounds like it's some other smaller side company entity getting money because they can, is what it sounds like to me.
Gary, you got any final thoughts on this?
No, I agree with what Eric just said. It probably is that. And you never know. Maybe there's someone at Disney that, like you were saying, and I know Eric says it's a conspiracy, but maybe there is a long-term plan for Mace Windu or even Vader and Mace Windu.
Yeah,
you never know. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just...
I know what you're saying.
Think it seems more logical.
From
Occam's razor. The simplest answer is usually the right one. And to me, it seems like a small company said, hey, we have rights to that. Let's make money.
Yeah. So, for the person who put that fan film out there...
great work.
We love what you did.
Fantastic.
We appreciate everything you did. I'd love to bring you on the show, actually, if at some point this quells down a little bit and you're willing to do an interview. We'd love to hear from you, and hopefully you can get a hold of us, or I'll try to get a hold of you at some point, and we'd love to talk to you. I feel bad for him, I really do, and I hope he continues with Episode 2.
He says he's gonna.
He says he's gonna. I want to see it. I really do. I really think it would be great to see it. It was a great fan film, and I feel for him. That's a lot of stress to go through for something that, quite honestly, was done for the fun of it, for the heck of it, and put together a really well put together film.
And clearly cost a lot of money.
Obviously.
Yeah, it was reported that $100,000 he put into it.
Yeah, so that's so we feel for him. All right, so that's our thoughts on the John Wick 3 trailer, the release of Ghostbusters 2020 coming in the future, the Spiderman Far From Home trailer, and our thoughts on the Star Wars Vader fan film and the claim that was put against it. So head on over to our website, GalaxyCast.com. Let us know what you think. Check us out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and pay attention to those things because they're going to start changing soon, and you're going to be surprised what you see. So we'll be back in just a little bit to review our next episode of Star Wars Resistance.